Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik with Figure It Out Productions. The following video is part of our Quick Shoot series.
Hey guys, alright, so quite a few people, and I mean quite a few, have sent me a link to a story that recently broke in which the basic point is Sony considering Shenmue, or bringing Shenmue back. So before we get into this, I want to roll a clip here. This is from March 7th, 2013. The only way we're going to have like a console that pays for exclusivity is if that console is dominant in all three regions. So you can just cross off the Xbox as an option, or Xbox 360, Xbox 720, whatever it ends up being called, the next one, Durango, whatever you. There will be no Shenmue 3 by itself for that console. It will not happen because it will never work in Japan. Microsoft can't get through that through their head. So that kind of really only leaves the Wii U and the eventual PS4. Now the Wii U is not doing well at all. So I don't think it's going to happen there either. That leaves the PS3 and the PS4. Since PS3 is out the door, cross that off the list. So you're left with the PS4. But until Sega either gives up the license or just decides, hey, we're going to do this, or we're going to use fan support, or basically Sony would have to come in and say, we want this. Unless that happens, we're never going to see Shenmue 3. I got another one. Hang on. The reason that Sony would go after something like Shenmue is that Shenmue 3 is unique. It is the last unicorn in this regard. Because think about how many unawaited titles could be potential system sellers. There's not many. And especially exclusive ones. Like, sure, your Halo 5 or whatever will be a system seller, but it's obvious where that's going. And Grand Theft Auto 5, also a system seller, but for who? It's on both. Shenmue 3 is unique in that neither of them own it, and it could do something like that. Now, let's be fair. Shenmue 3 will never be the mainstream type of game that those are. That's never going to happen. So it won't win on that massive type of appeal. But it does have the unique advantage of being able to appeal to a lot of hardcore gamers, especially ones who really don't like Sony, myself included. They can, if Sony were to put out Shenmue 3, if they were to finance that, it'd be pretty easy to forgive them for a lot of the things I disliked them for. I mean, really, it would. If they basically brought Sega back, you could ignore all that other stuff, but if they brought Shenmue 3 back, that would be huge. I mean, that would be huge. That'd be fantastic. And I think that they might actually consider that. Because if they look down the road, they know they can't repeat what they just did in the PS3 360 generation. They have no desire to come in last. And they can't seem to make their exclusives interesting. At least enough to a massive audience. But Shenmue 3 could win over a substantial number of gamer fanatics who aren't really sure what they want in the next generation. Now, of course, this is... Sorry, I know that comes off as exceedingly arrogant. That's not my point. My simple point back then, as is now, is that the PlayStation 4, right here, is the only console that made any sense to get Shenmue 3, or a Shenmue HD port, what have you, to be on. And apparently I was right. Do I think that's happening? No, I don't. But that's because I'm a Shenmue fan. We're used to being burned. So let's talk about this a little bit. The rumor itself first. The rumor is that Sony is confirming that Shenmue 3 is coming to... People have a tendency to really blow things out of proportion. It's not confirmed, or even anything close to it. Here's what we actually know. A Sony representative named Adam Boyes, or Boyes, apparently Adams have a big thing for starting up shit with Shenmue. This guy, he basically was talking to Kotaku, and was filling them in on a thing Sony's been doing for the past 3 months, at the time I make this video, about what would gamers like to see come to PlayStation.
What do the gamers really want? You know, tell us anything. What sequels do you want? What ports do you want? What reboots? You know, whatever. Games that have never been brought over here from Japan. You know, in your territory, they were there, but they weren't in others. What do you want? Let us know. And this was, you know, he was basically asked about that. And 3 titles came to his mind. One was a Final Fantasy game for the PSP that came out in Japan. 2 was Yakuza 5, which came out on the PlayStation 3 in Japan, and 1 was Shenmue. Now, you have to understand, based on what he said, they had a crap ton of suggestions. Those are just the 3 that came to his mind. That doesn't mean by any means that they're actively going after Sega and trying to get things going. But it is a good sign, make no mistake about it. It is good news. It means, at least on their public and official level, they're kind of interested in Ryo Hazuki and his unfinished cave adventure. But, you know, it is way too soon to say, yeah, this is definitely happening. But of course, like I said months and months ago, the PlayStation 4 is the only one that makes any sense. Now, of course, saying that back then and saying it now even, there's a lot of people watching who are like, you're a fanboy! You're a PlayStation fanboy! Or you're a Sega fanboy! I get accused of everything. It's kind of ridiculous. Me saying that it's not coming to the Xbox One, or not coming to the Wii U, or not coming to the PC, etc., is not fanboyism. It's realities. Okay? There are the only company involved in this whole process that would have any interest whatsoever in making it multiplat is Sega. No one else would be interested in having it go multiplat. Why would they? Why would Nintendo, for example, be interested in seeing that game be multiplat across the board? Of course they'd want it on their console, but why would they want it on their competition's console? Same with Microsoft, same with the PC. Well, PC is obviously a bit of a different animal, but point is, only the owners, which is Sega, are going to care because that's where they can make the most money is multiplat. But that only makes sense if they're making it themselves, which they would not be. They've had 14 years to do that. It's very apparent at this point that Sega is not going it alone. So you need an investor. And the only investors that make sense are the hardware manufacturers. Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. Now, I broke down previously why Nintendo and Microsoft make no sense. And as it turns out, I was right. Sony's the only one that makes any sense. So there you go. It's good news, guys. Be happy. It's good news. We could be getting Shenmue 3. I don't think that's necessarily the case yet, because there was another story that didn't really get a whole lot of public attention, and it really should have. Yu Suzuki, the creator of Shenmue, the man who has been actively trying to get the 3rd game made for like 14 plus years now, is kind of, I don't want to say he's moved on, because he certainly still wants to make it. That's very apparent. Even as recent as a couple of months ago, he was still talking about it. But he started development of a new game. Interestingly, he's kind of going the Mighty No. 9 route, you know, like the way, what's his name, Akira Inafune? I'm sorry if I'm getting the name wrong. The guy who made Mega Man. After Capcom pissed him off so much, he basically said, the hell with you. I'm going to go off and make Mighty No. 9, which is the spiritual successor to Mega Man. Based on an article I read, which is on the Shenmue Dojo, which is a forum, I highly recommend you check it out, and you can read the article for yourselves. Yu Suzuki is, it sounds, based on that, like he was saying, I'm never going to get Sega to agree to this. I'm going to have to go off and start doing the Mighty No. 9 thing. I'm going to have to make a spiritual successor to Shenmue. So I find it very unlikely that somehow we all know more than Yu Suzuki does about the fate of Shenmue 3. But again, that was a couple of weeks ago, and this news is obviously more recent, but I don't think by any stretch of the imagination there's anybody who's sat down at Sony, you know, with Sega and said like, alright, we're serious, here's our offer. But I do think keep up the buzz, keep up talking about it, but let's all approach it with a sense of calm and reason, okay? The best you can do is you can make a video, you can post on forums, you can continue like a hammerfest on Sega's Twitter, on Sony's Twitter, saying, please, bring us Shenmue 3, please, just keep doing it. I'm telling you, that's apparently what even got Adam Boyes to say it. And Adam Boyes, that's a interesting last name. It's what even got him to say it, is that apparently they had been so hammered by it, it's like the one title that really stuck in his mind. Of course, it's interesting that Yakuza, the spiritual successor in some ways, is the other one that stuck in his mind. But maybe he's just a fan of the series. Who the hell knows? We really don't know. He hasn't given us anything more than that initial quote. But I would not get so excited and say, like, yeah, Shenmue 3, it's happening, next. But I will tell you this. If Shenmue 3 does happen this generation, make sure you've got this machine, because it's not going anywhere else. So, yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the whole situation. Exercise some calm, but make no mistake, it is good news. So I want to thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all later.